This case is about a child genius that was destined to go to Cambridge, but once he took a train down to King's Cross in London, he was never seen again.
Andrew lived in South Yorkshire with his family. He was a very smart student with perfect attendance and was predicted to score all A's in his exams. He was a gifted student and many believed he would go to Cambridge. In the summer of 2006, he spent 2 weeks at a residential school for the Young, Gifted and Talented program at Lancaster University, which was designed for UK children between the ages of 11 to 16 and who were in the top 5% academically. His parents were surprised as to how much he had enjoyed it and how enthused he was upon his return. In terms of his characteristics, he was known to be an introvert and have friends, but not to socialize with them outside of school. He was known to spend a lot of time at home, but when he did go somewhere, he would always let his family know his whereabouts. He also had several phones as he was growing up, but he never used them too much and so ended up losing them. Andrew looked young for his age. Although he was 14 years old, many would say he looked around 12. He was deaf in his left ear and had light brown hair which he planned to dye black.
Like we said, Chip, this guy, he's a brainiac. He seems like one of those kids, went to school, got the grades, just a well-behaved kid, no trouble.
Wasn't focused on being cool, anything like that, you know, enjoyed doing his own little thing.
Just being smart.
Getting shit done.
I was always envious of these people, you know. I wish I was up there in that academic category.
They didn't mess around in class. They could stay switched on.
Yeah, or was he the type that hardly stayed switched on, but was still really smart? They were even more annoying.
Yeah, they're stressful.
There was nothing unusual in the lead up to Andrew's disappearance. Only twice did he break his usual habit of taking the school bus back home. On those two separate occasions, he chose to walk the 4-mile route home. The day before his disappearance was also uneventful. He went to school, they had dinner, Andrew made a jigsaw puzzle with his father and finished off the night with some comedy programs on television. However, it changed on the day of his disappearance on September 14th, 2007. He was 8 days into the school year and was unusually grumpy and irritable. His mother said this was unusual for Andrew as he would be up on time and promptly. He then set off at 8:05 AM to his usual bus stop but didn't get on the bus. Instead, he withdrew £200 from an ATM at a local garage. At the time, he only had £214 in his bank account, but the ATM would allow him to withdraw £20 at a time, and thus he took out as much as he could. Surveillance footage showed him returning home after this. Upon returning home, he put his uniform in the washing machine and changed into some other clothes. He changed into a black Slipknot t-shirt, black jeans, trainers, and a black canvas satchel with metal bands on it. With himself, he took his wallet, keys, and his PlayStation console. He left behind his charger, passport, and £100 saved up from previous birthdays. At 8:30, he was seen going to Doncaster railway station and purchased a one-way ticket to London which cost him £31.40. And at 9:35 AM, he boarded the train to King's Cross station alone. By 11:20 AM, CCTV saw him arriving to King's Cross station, and the last sighting of him was of him leaving the station at 11:25 AM. At this stage, the school tried to contact Andrew's parents to inform them of his absence, but they dialed the wrong student's number and had left a voicemail on the phone of a different family. With no voicemail, by evening, the family had dinner and assumed that Andrew was in his room studying or playing video games. When they finally realized he wasn't at home, they assumed he was at a friend's house. The parents then called Andrew's friends, who let them know Andrew was not at their house, nor had he been at school that day. At 7 PM, the family called the police.
Is it just me, Chip? Or is it a little bit weird how all these parents are quite nonchalant about where their kids, the whereabouts of their kids, do you know what I mean?
I guess he's a teenager though, he's come home, he's probably in his bedroom playing on his PlayStation, something that you would expect. He's done his day, his school, standard stuff. It's a normal day.
I suppose you can't spend your whole adult life fretting about where your kid is. Like, they're probably up to some dumb shit.
Not checking on him every 30 minutes, knocking on his bedroom door. You right, love?
We gotta think though, do you reckon the person that made the phone call to the wrong family to say the thing about the voicemail feels quite guilty? Because imagine if she had actually called the right phone number and notified the parents, like, hey, by the way, your kid didn't come to school, they could have quickly found this out a lot quicker, maybe stopped him from going to wherever he was going or whatever.
It's true.
It's a sad thing that
It's
mistakes get made.
It's a mistake.
You can't hate on that.
You can't sit there and hate yourself alive. I mean, it is your fault, but...
Yeah. It's true.
Andrew's family went over the route which he would have taken, and they searched it until nightfall in hopes of finding any clues or evidence, but nothing came from it. 3 hours after the parents realized he was missing, they already had produced missing person leaflets. A couple of days later, the police had talked with the ticket seller at Doncaster, who told him she had offered Andrew a return ticket as it was only 50 pence more than a one-way ticket, but Andrew refused. Andrew's father claimed that this didn't seem out of the ordinary, as he had friends and family with whom he could have stayed with in London. Despite this, the family went to London themselves to hand out flyers.
I think the most obvious thing you have to ask here is, it's safe to say that by him not telling his parents that he was going to be heading down to London, I think he was probably going to do something that he knew he shouldn't have been doing. That's why he hasn't told the parents. And was it a case of it's easier to ask for forgiveness rather than it is to ask for permission?
Could be a strict family, like, strict parents. I mean, he is only 14 years old. I mean, if I was 14, I was like to my mother, can I go to London for this? She'd be like, no.
Yeah, my family would never let me go down to London at the age of 14 by myself.
Probably knew that, and like you said, easy to ask for forgiveness. He's gone, he comes back, slap on the wrist, whatever, grounded for a week, but at least he got to go.
Yeah.
It took the British Transport Police and South Yorkshire Police 3 weeks to identify him in the King's Cross CCTV footage, which was then circulated around the media. However, the authorities did not try to request or find any surveillance footage outside of King's Cross, such as the tube station or any buses around the area. Andrew's parents called out the police for putting more effort into looking at the Gosden family rather than combing through CCTV footage. The father, Kevin, claimed that they had unlawfully recorded interviews and had also tried to pressure him into revealing Andrew's whereabouts or reasoning for his disappearance. But eventually, the whole family was cleared of any involvement. A year later, a man came to Leominster police station claiming he had information on Andrew. At this time in the evening, the police station did not have a manned reception as it was after hours, but instead used an intercom system. By the time an officer came downstairs to speak to the man, he had fled the station. The police reached out to the public, asking for the man to come back, but no one came forward. Later on, someone wrote to the BBC claiming they were the same man who visited the police station. He wrote that he had seen Andrew in Shrewsbury, but it was never confirmed, nor was it confirmed whether it was the same man.
Why are the police not looking at the CCTV on the outside of King's Cross?
That's the thing you do. Like, I swear, like,
let's just follow where he went.
Yeah, even when you watch it in movies and they're trying to trace like something that's happened, they follow the the breadcrumbs of the cameras. Okay, so if he's walked out of King's Cross, we should be looking at the road that's outside King's Cross, those cameras, corner shop, everything.
Just follow his track. Where did the kid go?
Mind blowing.
And they were too busy getting onto the family, thinking the family had something to do with it. Fine, that's okay. But in the background or alongside it, let's continue working as if it wasn't the family.
If the ticket lady has come forward and said that he bought a ticket and she offered him a return, everything. How have they tied that straight to the family? He's obviously left to go to London.
Yeah, and that's actually such a good point, is the fact that he said, I don't want a return. That to me is massive, and especially look, for 50p extra, it sounds like a bargain, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot cheaper than him then spending another 100 quid to go back up. Do you know what I mean?
This is the thing. This is one thing I was thinking though. It's 50p, which is extremely cheap. I think it's a 50p day return ticket, and if he's planning on staying over somewhere, why would he waste his extra 50p if he knows he's not coming back on that day? 50p sounds a bit too cheap.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think you're right.
And he's obviously not ran away from home because he's left some money behind and some certain things.
So his plan was to come back at some point.
Yeah, because if you were going to actually run away from home and you're this genius kid, you would take all of your money, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Theory number 1. Did Andrew go and meet someone he had met on the internet? There was no evidence to support this theory, as he didn't have a laptop nor a computer at home, and he didn't even have any online accounts. Digital forensics found nothing on his school computer either, and his sister was adamant he wasn't interested in social media nor connecting with people online. Another similar theory was that he had gone to London to attend a 2007 YouTube gathering, but again, there was no evidence to support this.
they said that he might be going to like a YouTube gathering thing. I'll be perfectly honest with you. They say that he didn't have a laptop or a computer at home.
I struggle to believe.
So how would he have been? And not only that, we got to remember this is like 2007, right? YouTube is at its absolute infancy. We don't even. It's not even like a. People would never say they watched YouTube back then.
No,
it was for cat videos.
We were 13 years old, and I don't really remember using YouTube that much back then.
No way. No, I'll tell you what. 2 years later, my channel was born.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that.
Theory number 2. His family believed Andrew had gone to London to look at the sights. They claimed he knew London and the public transport system well. He had friends and family who lived there and would have enjoyed going to the museums and then visiting them.
Now this theory, in my opinion, it stinks. First of all, at 14, I never thought about going to London and seeing the sights.
Well, you know, he was a bit of a bit of a smart cookie, maybe a bit of a nerd. Maybe he enjoyed the sights. But yeah, I'm with you, 14 years old.
Theory number 3. Andrew's father, Kevin, thought it was possible that Andrew was struggling with his sexuality and didn't know what to do. He asked the gay community to help find his son. He said, quote, "We are a pretty open family, so have wondered if he was gay or struggling with his sexual identity and found it too awkward to raise. If he is gay, we do not have any issue with it. He is loved unconditionally by both my wife and I and his sister." Andrew's parents were both committed Christians but had never imposed their religion on their children. Either way, maybe Andrew was scared to tell his parents.
I find this theory quite interesting about his sexuality. Now, we know that London has a massive gay scene, particularly in Soho and places surrounding there. It is known as one of the biggest areas where gay people will go, hang out, nights out, things like that. And so that bit's quite interesting. And I think maybe he went down there, but I just think
maybe,
why?
Yeah, it could tie into like the person he's meeting. Maybe that, maybe he didn't want to tell his parents because he's going meeting another guy.
Yeah,
potentially.
That's true. That's true.
At the same time, though, if he's got no way of contacting people on the internet, I'm not sure how he would get himself involved
in that space,
in a community in London,
or even know that it exists. Particularly,
yeah. He must have had a burner phone or something.
Bro's convinced he had it. He did have loads of phones, didn't he?
I just have a feeling he had a way to access the internet and they just didn't know about it. Either that or he used to go to the library and use a computer, because I used to do that.
Yeah.
Computer at the library. Always used to just
banger.
Bit of RuneScape on there.
I have a feeling this guy was destined for better things than endless RuneScape.
I'm telling you, man, he played RuneScape.
6th is a metal band from Hertfordshire who was supposed to be playing on the 7th of July and was going to be the last show with the original vocalist, making it a big deal for its fans. The concert was supposed to be at the Carling Academy, which is a walking distance from King's Cross. From the outfit which Andrew changed into, the Slipknot t-shirt and satchel with the metal bands on it, it makes the most sense. He was also known to be a metal band fan. The head of the Met Police's Central Images unit believed this theory the most. He asked people who had attended this concert to send pictures and videos for them to look through and to see if they could spot Andrew. Andrew's father claimed he thought Andrew had gone without permission, as it would have been easier to ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
This is not a bad theory. I'm on board with it. Like we said, he went home. We have to remember, he went home to get changed into this Slipknot t-shirt, right? It wasn't was it a conscious decision? Right, I'm going to...
Yeah, I'm going to a metal concert. You want to be wearing your top club, when we go to watch F1, we put on our F1 jackets, whatever.
You go into a metal concert, you put on the one metal band t-shirt that you have, right? So that makes sense. But when they were asking everyone to send in footage to see if they could see him, I think it would be difficult to spot out someone in a crowd anyways. And back then, let's not forget that it's not like it is nowadays where everyone's got a phone and they're like this. Back then, maybe one person will be filming something on a phone at a concert.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as common. Also, if he did go home and change, just because you put on this Slipknot t-shirt doesn't mean he's going to a metal thing. You could go home and put on a t-shirt and that's
just
it.
the one.
That's
yeah,
your
it's a
t-shirt
coincidence.
you're wearing for the day now.
It could be a coincidence for sure.
Yeah. It's not a bad shout though. And it does seem like something you could do because, like you said, get permission off the parents to go to a metal concert in London.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Not only that, but then your parents go, yeah, you can go, but I have to come with you. And that was never cool.
Yeah.
You never wanted to go to a concert
You're just out there.
with your mum and your dad.
You got your dad next to you just looking at you.
Yeah,
What
have
I raised?
Gabe25 wrote this comment under the YouTube video of the channel piqued interest. They put forward the theory that the 2-week stay at the university may have played a bigger role than we thought. He supposedly came back more animated and happier, and they guess they met someone at the university. Upon coming back from his trip, he also told his dad he didn't want to be in the Club Scouts anymore. Was he trying to be more mature? Quote, "We know that a key strategy in the predator grooming process is treating the child like they're more mature than they are. I think it's possible he met a predator at the uni who targeted him. Andrew revealed he liked certain music and bands, and the predator acted like he did also. Before Andrew left, the predator told him such and such a band was playing in London on a certain date and arranged a meetup. So there was no need for ongoing communication. Since Andrew had not been on the internet, how would he have even known about playdates of any bands? Unless somebody told him."
Now, we love a YouTube comment theory, and this one from Gabe was actually pretty good, and I actually really quite like this, and it was all about, yeah, like we said, there's someone coming down, essentially luring him into London, but it was all stemmed from his time in Lancaster Uni, right, where he did that little stint there for like 2 weeks, he met someone there. The biggest thing here, though, is if it was someone, why would someone at Lancaster Uni lure someone down to London?
Because it's in the north. It's not. You
Lancaster,
know what?
We'll get a map up. Lancaster is a long way away from London.
If you told me he went to visit a university that was in London, and I'd be sold on this theory, 100%. I'd be like, that's it. It has to be that. It all makes sense. Unless
the thing is, with this particular theory, there's a lot of, like, I don't want to say reaches, but a lot of things have to fit into place for this theory to make sense. It was
There's always one piece that's not fitting, and right now the piece for this one is that it was at Lancaster University.
And I get that people from London will probably attend Lancaster Uni. That's fine. I just think it'd be very niche.
Yeah.
It was also during the summer period, so all the actual uni students have gone home to wherever they are. So it's really just school kids and the staff there. So unless you want to start looking into the staff of the Lancaster, but then the staff all live local.
I'm thinking in my head, potentially, I've got one little thing I'm thinking, even if it was a staff member or whatever, they've spoke to him, he's told them how about he lives near, not too far from London, and he can travel to London, and they've potentially arranged a little meet-up in London. Because if it's an older person, they've got the means and the money to just make that happen.
Yeah. But would that person want to, like, commit a crime as serious as this so far away from what they know? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, doing it in London, you would almost be a bit intimidated yourself being in there, like, fuck, there's so many people here, I don't know what to do. So, I don't know. It is,
it's a tough one,
the main thing for me, though, is I don't think, I know he didn't buy the return ticket, right? But I don't think that means he was running away.
No, I don't think it either.
Because the passport's still at home, the birthday money's still there. I think he was planning to go down for London, do something that he probably wasn't supposed to do. You know, his parents were never going to let him go down to London anyways. But yeah, I just think we'd love to know from you guys what you guys think here, because it's a really weird one. I honestly have no idea what he could have gone down there
It's a good case, though.
It is, and is it really just like a coincidence? Like, has this kid gone down here? He's gone to the concert or whatever, and then he's walking along the streets of London by himself, and he's just, like, coincidentally fallen victim to something completely spontaneous.
Yeah, I mean, they did say, even though he's 14 years old, he looks 12, and if you were a predator like that and you saw a 12-year-old walk in with, like, his PlayStation, whatever, no parents around, the opportunity is there.
But it's a fact, like, look, he hasn't been seen since. Like, the guy is...
I mean, there's only been one sighting, right? And that was it a Pizza Hut?
I don't know. There's so many different things. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say, but let's just give you a little update on what's been happening since all of this. So after his disappearance, about a year after, the entire school actually went with staff and pupils to London to hand out 15,000 leaflets. So safe to say, the school put in a bit of a shift here. It wasn't like they just sat on their heels and didn't do anything, right? Again, you mentioned the Pizza Hut thing. That also happened. Then in 2009, so a few years later, Andrew's dad came out and spoke out, and he actually, in quotes, said it was a spur of the moment thing. And that is kind of what we're saying, like I don't know, it's just weird for the dad to come out and say that. But anyways, that's what he said. And then not only that, but there was like an age progression photo that was released as to like what he would look like now. When he was 16, which was in 2009. In 2011, now this is really interesting, the family actually paid for a sonar search of the River Thames, right? And that technology allows people to locate, valuable things, even bodies, victims. And it actually led to them finding a body, but unfortunately, it wasn't Andrew. But in a good way, there was a body found, so hopefully it gave someone else closure.
Something came of it, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't actually know that was a thing, and I think that I can only imagine the price that would cost to conduct a sonar search on the River Thames.
That's a bag, sure.
That's not cheap. In 2017, to mark the 10-year anniversary of the disappearance, the charity called Missing People actually used Andrew as the face of their Find Every Child campaign. So he was all over the billboards in London, and in fact, the police still check the John Does, so the unnamed people in hospital, to see if there's any sort of matchup. In 2018, Andrew would have been 25. So he really is around our age. I think he might be a year older.
Yeah, I think he's a year older than us.
A year older than us. But yeah, it's mental to think that, this was all around our time.
Yeah, so when we were his age, when he was kidnapped or whatever happened to him, we were that age, playing on our PlayStations, Xboxes, whatever. Yeah. Kind of crazy.
And in 2019, another age progression photo was released, so when he was about 26 years old. And then right up to date, and this is the biggest bit of news that we have, is that on January 11th of this year, 2022, the South Yorkshire Police announced that on the 8th of December in 2021, detective arrested two men aged 38 and 45 on suspicion of kidnapping, possession of indecent images of children, and human trafficking. But unfortunately, they did say it takes between 6 to 12 months to fully analyze all the data.
So we could be hopefully hearing some information from that.
It also could just be a bit of a reach as well. But fingers crossed something comes of it. But that is this theory, that is this case. I mean, this is such an interesting case. One, because it's at our age. So we were doing similar things at the time that he was. And then also it's in the UK as well.
It's quite frightening. It's around the corner, King's Cross.
Tell them what to do, Chip.
But yes, let us know what you thought of the case in the comments. You can follow us on Spotify and listen over there. And of course, subscribe on YouTube and turn on their notifications.